this is Ashley.
And Cindy.
And this is Life for Dummies.
Because we're real dumb.
Yes. We are.
I've been around.
What are we talking about today, Cindy?
I thought we should talk about the fact that addiction does not discriminate.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I know a lot of people in the room.
Yep, we gotta start over.
Darn it. Okay, let's clap. 1, 2, 3.
Hey, Ashley.
Hi, Cindy.
Hey, guys.
Hey, this is Ashley.
And Cindy.
And this is Life for Dummies.
Because we're real dumb. You have no idea.
Already. So what are we talking about today?
I thought we should talk about the fact that addiction does not discriminate.
Oh, that's really good. What are you thinking?
Well, I'm thinking that, addiction doesn't matter your socioeconomic class. Addiction doesn't care about your family. It doesn't care about anything. You know, I totally believe that I was born this way. And that, that at some point I crossed a line. And once I crossed that line, there was no coming back. And there was no using like a normal person.
Yeah, that's true. You know, for me, it was almost like it solved all my problems. Like I had been somebody who couldn't totally function as a normal person in society. And then when I found it, I felt normal. So yes, it was almost like I had a dysfunction, and that was the solution to the dysfunction that I had always had.
Yeah, it was definitely my solution for everything, right? I remember the very first time that I ingested any type of substance, and I just remember thinking, wow, I don't feel insecure. I don't hear that voice in my head that tells me I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not skinny enough. Like all those things just subsided. And I was like, wow, this, if I can feel like this forever, I'm going to be fine.
I know. For me, it was like, it worked until it didn't work anymore. And by the end of it, I couldn't even leave the house without, my drug of choice per se, because I didn't know how to survive anymore without it.
Yeah, and that is very similar to me. Like, I like to think of it in a way of my life became very small, right? I was in this self-imposed prison. I didn't know how to live without it. I didn't want to live with it, but I couldn't leave the bathroom. Like, literally, that's what my life had become. It was me in a bathroom getting high.
You got used to a lot of bathroom walls, huh?
I knew all the great bathrooms in town. I'm not going to lie. Like, that was my spot.
Where's Cindy?
In the bathroom, again.
Yeah, but for real, honestly, it doesn't really matter, if you are a multimillionaire, billionaire, or if you're living on the street, it doesn't really matter where you come from. Like, if you have the disease of addiction, it doesn't discriminate. We all struggle with the same aspects of this disease.
We definitely do. And like Ashley said, it doesn't matter. The thing that matters is what are you willing to do about your problem, and how can we help you? That's what matters.
What's so interesting about that is that it kind of puts a leveling field right out there for all of us. And really at the end of the day, it just is like, okay, who's willing to do the work? Who's willing to accept their character defects and stop them and allow some kind of higher power to lead them to a more spiritually principled life?
Right. I was taught very early on that I have a spiritual problem and that it will not be fixed with a chemical. There's no chemical solution to my spiritual problem. I need spirituality to fix my spiritual problem. And I was able to put my faith in something greater than myself that could restore me to sanity, that could lead me in a direction that would help me find a fulfilling life, a happy life, a joyous life, a life free from active addiction.
Yeah, I mean, before I found this way of life, I, honestly, for about 6 or 7 years leading up to it, all I wanted to do was check myself into a mental institution. I genuinely felt completely insane. And thankfully, this is the only way that could restore me to that sanity.
Yeah, insanity is that is what happens when we let our addiction take over. And at that point we are literally using against our own will. But then the insane behavior, the insane thinking, all of it is so insane. And like, yeah, you feel like a crazy person, because deep down inside, when I was doing those things, I knew it wasn't right, but I didn't know how to stop, and I couldn't stop, and I needed someone to show me how to do that.
Absolutely. And also what's really cool about it is that once again it kind of like levels the playing field. That's what I meant to say earlier in regard to even spirituality. You don't have to be a spiritual person. You don't have to be predisposed to religion or some kind of belief in order to get this way of life. And vice versa. You can be an extremely religious person and yet still need this spirituality in order to recover.
Yeah, because spirituality for me is where it is totally at. Like I have to have faith in something greater than myself. And it has changed so much over the years what that faith is and what I believe in today. And it was totally different when I first came into this way of life than it is today. But that's what's so cool about it, is that it's spiritual and it's ever changing and ever evolving, and my understanding deepens over time, and then my ability to just put my trust in it deepens over time. And when I can do that, it is so much easier to surrender and get out of my own way.
Surrender, right?
Yeah.
It sounds super easy.
So hard.
Exactly. Yeah, and getting out of my own way. What I like about the spiritual part is that I genuinely become a different person, and like all different types of communities over the years prior to me finding this way of life have talked about putting on that new like clothing or becoming that different person who's more enlightened, more one with the world, with the universe, what have you. And I never really knew how to get there until I found this.
Yeah, I am so different because I had no interest in it, right? Like that did not interest me. That was not going to solve my problem. I didn't understand the difference between being spiritual and religious. And there is a huge difference, but I did not understand it, and I didn't want to put forth any effort to try to understand it. What someone would say to me when I was in active addiction, "I'll pray for you." Oh, I would get so angry. I would have words. I would have all kinds of thoughts like, yeah, you're not helping me out, And now when someone says that to me, I'm like, it's the most kind, loving thing somebody can do for me, But it is just two totally different ends of the spectrum, right? Like religion and spirituality can go hand in hand, but they don't have to.
And they don't always. There are a lot of people who try to find this way of life who were extremely wounded by religious people or by religious societies. And that kind of is a detriment to them walking in, really, and finding this new way of life, because when they start hearing the word God and they start hearing that, something about spiritual principles and applying them to my life every day, it's scary, right? Because it pulls that old trauma. And that's really what it is. A lot of people were traumatized, and so they wanted to go in a different direction, which really for those individuals, they are welcome just like the rest of us, because it's not about what people have done in the past. Our entire past lives are part of what we move away from as we enter into this more principled spiritual way of life.
Yeah, I was one of those people that Ashley is talking about. When I first found this way of life and I heard people use the word God, no. No. I was not. I would shut down completely, and I didn't want to hear any of it. And then finally someone said to me, you know what? God can just mean good, orderly direction. And I could get with that. I could handle that and accept that and use that. I was like, all right, I just have to follow good, orderly direction just for today. It's worked so far.
And what's wonderful about it is that it really, at the end of the day, just comes to something greater than ourselves. And if we can wrap our minds and our hearts around the fact that there is something greater than us, I mean, even, friendship is greater than just myself. If I spend a life in isolation, as soon as I maintain a friendship, then that's something greater than myself. if I can wrap my mind around that, then I do have hope, right? That at the end of the day, there might be something greater than me that can restore me to sanity.
And that just loves me and wants the best for me, right? And that part was hard for me to understand too. It just needs to be greater than me and loving and caring, whatever it is.
My best thinking had gotten me to where I was, dying from this disease of addiction. And so, thankfully, I got out of my own way, surrendered to a new way of life.
I am so grateful you did. We love you guys.
We love you. Keep coming back.